Good morning. Day 18 of running 200 miles in a month. Just starting out a bit of a longer run this morning. Probably in the range of 15 miles. So I'll take you guys along for the ride. Just over 6 miles down so far. And I think I'm through the quote-unquote most difficult section. Just through the park, and I did some hills there and everything. Good morning, dear. I see 3 of you. Saw a high school cross-country team running through there, which is cool. Made me think, man, which I ran some in high school. Just like thinking about how much better I might be by now, but that's alright. I was the furthest thing from a runner in high school. Maybe not the furthest. It's not like I was like morbidly obese, but I was not athletic. And it's still not really that athletic. I did have a stint for maybe 1 to 3 months at the beginning of my senior year of high school, maybe like August, September, October, where I did some running, but it was like 5 or 10 miles a week maybe. And then I did 2 5Ks that fall, that December, right before Christmas. So that was fun, but then I stopped running for like 2 years, basically 3 years actually. Made it to another park, but this one is not really a trails park, just kind of a green area with some paths park, so still pretty easy going per se. About 9.5 miles in, feeling solid. My legs are definitely getting tired, but I guess that's what happens when you run more than your body's used to. So I'm running a half marathon in about 2.5 weeks, and I'm not really training for it specifically all that much, but I do have a fairly lofty goal of an 8-minute average pace. So what I'm going to do here is basically try to run mile 13 of this run at 8-minute pace and see how that feels, which in one sense it's not really a comparable effort because I think my average pace so far is like 10:30 or 11-minute pace, but also at this point I've been running like 20 minutes longer than I'll run the half marathon if I am able to do it at 8-minute pace. So I'm a quarter mile away from mile 12, so when I'll get there I'll throw down and see what I can do. Alright, so the good news is I ran mile 13 in 7:44, definitely below 8 minutes, faster than I need to be for the half. I would say it was difficult, it was challenging. In my mind it's like, man, that's gonna get really hard doing that 10 plus times in a row. But definitely fatigued from increased volume and stress my body's been under just from increase volume and have extra weight with the vest that for the most part I won't have during the half. So there's definitely some factors here that made that mile more difficult than it might be in the half, but it's hard to know how it's gonna feel. But it lets me know it's not totally impossible, I think. So that's encouraging for sure.
So got back from the run a little bit ago, and one thing I've been working on recently is just nutrition and hydration during these longer runs of 90 plus minutes. This run was a little bit over 2.5 hours, so I was somewhat focused on the nutrition, just trying to get calories in and understand what works for me. So starting off the morning before I started the run, when I got up, I had an apple and half of a plain bagel with nothing on it, and that got me feeling pretty good, I think. And then throughout the run, I honestly didn't eat a ton throughout the run, but I had some honey at one point, and then I had some trail mix and raisins that I was just kind of snacking on a few times. And I had some plain water, and then I had some water as well that had an electrolyte mix in it. So I was drinking some of the plain water and some of the electrolyte water. I am cautiously trying to increase the amount of electrolytes I'm taking because typically that has given me trouble. So I'm trying to kind of acclimate it to it slowly and hopefully increase that. And then after I got back from the run, I had a pretty decent sized breakfast. I had the rest of that bagel with some peanut butter on it. I had eggs. Typically I will have 2 eggs and half a cup of egg whites, which is about 2 eggs worth of egg whites in the morning. But I put 2 eggs in the pan, and then I only had about a quarter cup of egg whites left, and I thought, well, I should definitely be eating more, not less, this morning, just because of the long run. So I ended up just putting the last 2 whole eggs that I had in the carton in there. So I had 4 total eggs and a little bit of extra egg whites. And then I made a smoothie as well, and I had a little bit of extra milk from that, so I just kind of threw that in the eggs as well. Pretty big breakfast, well over 1,000 calories. I don't really count calories super strictly anymore, but definitely a decent amount of protein just to help the body recover and repair. After that, I did some other stuff, and then once my stomach had settled just a little bit, did some abs for about 10 minutes, and then did some stretching for about 10 minutes. I've been trying to stretch every single day this year for 5 minutes or more, and I'm embarrassed to admit how many days I've missed. I think I've missed probably 15 or 20 days maybe throughout the year, which is definitely more than I want to be at, but it's still gotten me to stretch a lot more than I would have if I didn't set this goal right. So I think that's been certainly helpful just in terms of recovery and remaining injury free. So total mileage for the run was 15.26 miles at an average pace of about 10 minutes per mile. My elapsed average pace was like 10:10 because I was probably stopped for a minute or two throughout the run, just taking videos or pictures of something I saw or whatever like that, or waiting at a stoplight, to be honest. And I did have a decent amount of elevation gain on some of those hills the first 5 or 6 miles, so 879 feet, not too bad. But overall, the run felt pretty solid. My legs were, getting tired towards the end, but I don't do these, 15 plus mile runs all that often, so that's not too surprising. And I did hit that 8-minute mile or 7:45 mile at mile 13, which felt good and boosted my confidence just a little bit, though I think the half marathon at 8-minute pace is still going to be pretty difficult. So we'll see how that goes in a few weeks. And so far, after 18 days in July, I've run 143.75 miles, so decent amount there, 71.9% of the way through the mileage, and only 58% of the way through the month, so well over that 10% ahead of schedule threshold. And I'm saying it right here, my new goal for the month is officially 250 miles. I'm going to be putting in at least 10 miles over the next 2 days each day, and then after that I think the average will be maybe 7 or 8 miles a day for the rest of the month, but it shouldn't be too crazy, and I think I should be able to achieve that.